Good morning from Jakarta, Indonesia, actually. I have moved jobs. I now live in a different country, and life has moved quite a bit over the last few months. And I realized in that time I haven't actually put together a vlog post for quite a while, and I think the reason that I haven't done it beyond just the time constraints of living life is that I was just making it too complicated. I had to have the perfect setup with the lights and everything, and yeah, that's just not reproducible on a regular basis. And the whole point of doing one of these vlogs is to get information out and to connect with other people. So I thought, hey, why don't I just make this simple, get my computer going, start talking, and talk about things that are important in the EdTech world, and just publish them as they go and go from there. And seeing as that it's towards the end of Connected Educator Month 2015, I thought, let's just do it. Let's put a vlog post together and go from there. So for this particular vlog post, I'm actually going to talk about something related to Connected Educator Month, and that's digital branding for teachers. So the whole notion of Connected Educator Month is to use online tools and online collaborative elements to put people together, to share ideas, to get connection to resources, to just foster the communication in the community that we all have worldwide. And it's really interesting for me because I didn't do this for several years. I had my tribe of people, I email lists or conferences or whatever, and you kind of see the same people over and over again. And then I came to a realization that I was missing something. I was missing something for me professionally because I wasn't able to engage in the discussions with others on a real deep level. And so from a real selfish point of view, I wanted to expand my network so I could learn more. The first thing I did is I went out and I just started looking for other people, looking for different resources and different ways of connecting. I looked into Twitter, which I had avoided for a very long time. I looked into how to use Facebook or even to publish a website, which I had done in the past, but I hadn't actually done anything professionally like that for quite a while. And as I was looking at them, I realized that I was being too consumptive. I was just taking from these people and not engaging in conversation. And that's really what professional learning, we don't say professional development anymore. We say professional learning. What professional learning is all about these days, it's about having a dialogue about topics. You don't just go sit in a room and listen to somebody talk to you. You have kind of a Socratic dialogue with them where you talk about deep topics and you get deeper on things. And with the digital tools that we have at our disposal, that allows us to have those deep discussions, asynchronously, with the geography not being a concern, and going deep. But what you find is you can't truly engage in those discussions unless you portray yourselves in a digitized manner. And what I mean by that is that you have to share yourself. In order to become part of these PLNs, to really be a truly connected educator, you have to give something out to the greater field. You have to be a content producer or a curator or have a niche, something that you can talk about in order to engage in that discussion. Otherwise, you become an audience member rather than a participant. And true development of your skill as an educator, true learning for you is when you can have that dialogue and when you can get deep. So what I suggest for educators out there who are perhaps new to this topic is put something out. I did a talk at Ed.D this last summer where I said, don't wait to share. Share anything, share something, just put something out there because it makes you better. It makes you get over your concerns about confidence. It makes you get over your concerns about having something to offer, because all of us have been there. We've all done something where we've just started to offer anything. And what that does is it ends up adding to the global knowledge base, and it provides you an entree into some of these discussions. So how do you do it? Well, I would suggest you create a Twitter profile and you start posting things. Whether it's a blog post that you've written or something you've found somewhere else or a commentary on something that somebody else has done, put something out there and begin the conversation. Now that's just the beginning. But when you do that, what you're going to find is other people are going to ask you questions. They're going to ask you questions about what you're doing in your chemistry classroom or in a foundation stage or a preschool room. What are those things that are wonderful about your class? And there are wonderful things going on in your class. What are those things that make it special, and how can they use them, learn about them, repurpose them for their own classes? And that then allows you to discuss with them, what are the things have they seen? What are the other people that they connect to? And slowly this snowball just grows as it rolls down the hill. There's a difficulty here. There's a challenge here, though. One person suggested to me that you need to first decide whether you are a content consumer or a content producer. And I argue that that's not really true. What you need to decide is, where are you going to live in this vast ocean of information? Because within the education sphere, there's a ton there to consume. And to begin with, you kind of have to figure out where you're going to be. Are you going to be as I said with my example, are you going to be a preschool teacher talking about, say, inquiry with 5-year-olds? Are you going to be a chemistry teacher talking about the IB and progressive approaches to teaching chemistry at a higher level? What are those things that you can offer that you're interested in discussing to make you better and that you've already learned about? I would start there. But from that point, where the challenge really comes in is, how do you create a sense of credibility, of value, and how do you really own the message that you are creating? And so one thing I would suggest very heavily is that people look into branding. So what I'm suggesting is, you yourself are a brand. What you produce has a look and feel and understanding from those that are consuming what you have to offer. So treat it as such. And I've written about this in some of my blogs. I actually just wrote a little iBook about this that hopefully will be available shortly. Take a look at yourself and what you have to offer, and treat it with the same care that you would say Coca-Cola would take with their products. Now, you're not trying to sell something, so don't see this as a deficit, but rather you're trying to have the most accurate and efficient and effective impact on the field so that you can engage in that discussion. Well, in order to do that, you have to control your message. So I've got a few suggestions here. First off, kind of go through and audit your current presence. So as you start doing this, maybe you already have a few things online. Maybe you have a vlog or a blog or a website or whatever it was. Search for yourself online. Look at these products. What would somebody from the outside think of you if they looked for you online? Or if you started connecting all these pieces together, what would they see from what they look at? Then identify your passion area. So look at a place within yourself, within what you're trying to do, and choose that part of the ocean, as it were, and say, I'm going to be here for now. Now, this is not the end-all be-all. You're not going to end up here at the end. But it's a great place to begin. So for me, I started with EdTech. I said, you know what, I'm going to start talking about EdTech. And then from there, I kind of spanned out a little bit. I said I wanted to talk about digital citizenship. I wanted to talk about educational leadership. I wanted to talk about teacher professional development. I wanted to talk about this digital branding thing. I want to talk about growing discussions worldwide through the lens of EdTech. I've recently started looking at data in big schools. And what that does is a few things. Number one, it makes people come to me and ask me questions, but then it also requires that I spend some time understanding these topics to have that deep conversation. So there are areas of passion that have to start with something at the beginning and then grow from there. And then develop content. I don't think that you're going to find a lot of value if you don't spend time actually building something to share. If you're just a consumer, you're not going to get much out of this. Just like our students. We don't want them to be consumptive learners. We want them to be consumptive and creative. We want this balance. So emulate that in your own work by creating content. Like I said, write a blog, start a website, find items to curate. This is another valuable thing. You don't have to be a writer or somebody that creates video. Go in and find a bunch of sites about something and create a curated site through like Scoopit or Digo or something, and share that out. That's developing content as well. However, when you do this, you need to be consistent. And what I mean by that is choose a set of keywords or hashtags or meta tags, whatever you want to call them, and use them throughout. So whenever you do anything within your topic area, use a specific hashtag. So I throw hashtag EdTech on all the time. Now I've added e-learning, I've added DigCit, I've added a few others, but I started off with EdTech. And so everywhere I go, I do EdTech. And you notice we use the word hashtag, and hashtag really speaks to using Twitter quite a bit. And as I said earlier, I was not a fan of Twitter. And I've come around on it, and the reason I've come around on it is not because of the immediacy of what's available or the compactness of what's available, because I really don't find that all that valuable, but the fact that people are there that I would never have run into, I don't need to be great friends with them. I just need to have a common affinity for what we're doing. Because of my involvement in Twitter and the things that I have shared out and posted, I have had connections all over the world. So I'm going to China this coming month. I've had work in the United States. I've had connections with South America. I've had people asking more about my work with Ed.D and my work in Southeast Asia. It has created a bit of a buzz for me where my work personally has grown quite a bit because I am engaging in my work with Twitter. And with that, people can connect to me through Twitter instead of having to write me an email or to call me on the phone or using Skype. It's kind of a one-stop shop where you develop a relationship, you develop a reputation. And so the first piece I would really suggest you do is get on Twitter and engage in the conversations. Beyond that, what I'm going to say to you is be consistent in your self-portrayal. So in order for people to understand who I am, I always use the same name, Matt Harris, EdD. Now there's a few reasons for that. Number one, there are a million Matt Harrises out there. We actually have a group on Facebook. I am Matt Harris. Beyond that, I want them to search for Matt Harris EdD and find me. I use the same picture or series of pictures of me in a suit, smiling, with a nice tie. That's wherever I go. I use the same type of language, and I always point people to two things. I point them back to my website, mattharrisedd.com, which contains a lot of my work, and my Twitter handle, @MattHarrisEdD. So there's a consistency in that, because if they're able to come back to one location and they're able to say, who was that guy? You know, I followed 4,000 people. Who is that one person? Oh, that's right. I remember that picture. I remember that name. I remember the other content. It again builds this reputation, and it builds this kind of connection in people's minds and networks of who you are and what you have to offer. You have to control that, though. You can't just, talk about something randomly over on the side with a different picture and a different name and expect it to grow your overall brand. Especially when you're beginning, you don't have enough of a reputation or a name to be able to do that, and that dilutes the conversation that you can have personally to grow your own abilities. So again, be very, very consistent with that. And then the last thing I'm going to say is, as you're building your brand, as you're thinking about yourself and growing and being part of a professional learning network or a personal learning network, however you want to describe it, you have to promote others. So you're connecting with other people and you're having this discussion. You need to give them some praise. You need to give them some credit. You need to retweet their work and show that you are a conduit for learning that doesn't necessarily have to come from your own brain, but can also come from who you are and who you are connected to. That also works out for me quite well. So the people that I have retweeted actually were the ones that have given me opportunities in these countries that I listed before. So some of it is the work that I've produced, but it's finding materials from other people and working with them and retweeting them that has grown me as a person relatively quickly. And I'm going to give a little shameless egotistical promotion here. The reason that this is something so important for me is that it has been very successful for me. I have had the opportunity to do consulting work, to author a bunch of articles and blog posts. I've asked to be on boards because of this. I've asked to speak because of this. One would argue that the profile of my job in my school has grown because of this. I'm now asked to go to different countries because of the work that I've done on Twitter and through my website and LinkedIn and various other things. And here's the strange part. I've only been doing it for a year. Not even that. I decided to jump in and say, I'm going to create a digital brand for myself to help myself and my school and my job in December of 2014. If you look at my Twitter posts, and it's pretty proficient. They don't start before December 2014. And so I would consider myself a success story within this space, mostly because I have jumped in with both feet and I've used my existing networks to grow out this online network and my online brand and my presence and my own personal and professional learning. But as I jumped in, things were pretty slow. Things didn't happen very quickly initially, and then a few events happened for me, a few connections, and they started to explode. So as of today, I think I checked, I'm about 10 months in, maybe 10 and a half months into doing this, and I have 3,500 Twitter followers. And it's an unfair metric to look at, and it's not something that you should really aspire to a specific number, but it is an interesting indicator of what happens when you go all in and you find ways to highlight all the great things that you're doing in your classroom. And I guarantee you're doing something great in your classroom, because I've looked at schools around the world and I've never seen a classroom that didn't have something just amazing going on with it that deserved to be shared. And so what I would say is do this. Find something to share. Create a consistency within the brand of what you're going to share. Have the courage to share anything. Put out a blog post, start on Twitter, engage in a chat, go onto Facebook, whatever tool you're doing, and do something. And then just see what happens. Give it some effort, give it some time, and don't evaluate for the first 12 months. So this is kind of a marketing approach, that if you do a very good job at these things, if you really look at your brand and grow yourself, after 12 months it should be some sort of a machine, somewhat self-perpetuating. Now, you're not looking to create a brand in the way that Coca-Cola is looking to raise sales. You're looking to grow your professional learning here. It will take a while. And so what I suggest is do this for about a year. And then after a year, do a critical analysis. Is it effective? Is this something of value to me professionally? Are there things that I should change? Are there things that I should grow and adjust? And I think that you'll find that your network has grown immensely beyond what you can find within your district, within your classroom. You will connect with people and ideas and concepts that will just make you a better educator. And in turn, you're going to help other educators on that same path of growth. And that's really a pretty amazing thing. So enjoy, please share with me. Follow me on Twitter, Matt Harris at EDD, Matt Harris EDD. Take a look at my book whenever it comes out. Tell me your thoughts, and continue the conversation. Thanks a lot.